Okay. All right. I'm going to try and I don't even know where to begin with this. So, if you listen carefully, what took place, what we have here, I thought I would play this for some context. All right. This is the US president, and he's talking about shooting down objects in the sky. Hang on, watch this.
Good afternoon.
Under pressure to explain mystery objects in America's skies.
Okay, so as we know, there was a balloon, a Chinese balloon, the first one, and so the government decided to, take some harsh actions against that one. But then there were some other balloons that were, well, shot down, and it turns out it's hang on, is that alright? So I'm trying not to wake up the entire house right now. Through it was the hobby clubs. Reportedly, through Aviation Week, hobby club's missing balloon feared shot down by the US Air Force, and the middle school class learns how to use scientific balloons. Basically, it is possible that the balloon, one of the potential spy balloons, maybe might have been a hobby club's balloon because it has gone missing in action. That's it. That's the story. So, why am I covering this? So let's have a look at this one. Okay, so this is not breaking news, but relatively new. Talking about immunity acquired from a COVID infection is as protective as vaccination against severe illness and death, a study has found. Now, this is, a little bit after the data was had to be, collected first, and then we can assess the data, and then you can make an informed decision based on that data, which is what I was trying to say the whole time. But it appears government might tend to overreact and shoot down hobby clubs' balloons. So with infections that now maybe, well, not maybe, but reportedly an immunity acquired from an infection from a virus is as good against severe illness and death, the study has found. Now, again, it appears government, overreaction, overreach. One, this is my political opinion, as the Crypto-Politico down under, hobby club's balloon was downed by the US Air Force. That's a bit of an overreaction if you ask me. We have entire countries locked down. They tried to roll out passports. They made it mandatory, supposedly, to be vaccinated. Some people lost their jobs, lost their livelihood. Others felt forced that they had to. Didn't exactly sound free to me. But it appears the government, there was some overreach. Now, there's some more articles about this topic, but I won't press on it too hard. Basically, it is what it is. Now, this article came out February 17th, very recently. This article came out February 16th, very recently. So what do we know? We know government tends to overreact, and it turns out, sometimes they get it wrong. Very wrong. It's funny though, because people who ask questions, they tend to do okay. Informed citizenry and all. Like people who found cryptocurrencies like Hex. Now, moving on to cryptocurrency. What do we got here in Australia, right? We got politicians, and they are literally battling each other because one wants regulation faster, and the other one wants to regulate in a different way. Now, usually for context, I don't mind the Liberal Party, and I would vote over them. I would vote for them over the Labour Party, generally speaking. But on this policy, I cannot agree with this guy at all. Some other stuff he talks about, that's cool. But this stuff, have a listen to this. So, keeping in mind, politicians and governments tend to down middle school balloons, hobby balloons. They tend to lock down everyone for a virus, and they force everyone to get vaccinated. When it turns out that the infection, the immunity that you get from an infection is actually, is just as good, if not better. And now we have governments here in Australia talking about token mapping. Here is some of the what they're talking about. Now, this guy is trying to speed up the process of regulation. Mind you, there's regulation, there's laws all in place. I'm pretty sure FTX are indicted for a multiple range of offences. They broke the law. But anyway, this is what they have to say, the politicians here. The same politicians, not the exact same one, but generally speaking, the same ones that overreact and shoot down balloons, force mandates, and now they're talking about speeding up regulation or regulating in a different way. Okay, changing definition. Just like this, we're not in a recession, but we're in a recession. Here we go.
Consultation paper on the markets licensing system.
Correct.
Okay. So in the interim, if you're investing into one of these things in Australia and it falls over, then too bad.
I think it's in the token mapping paper outline that there are probably some tokens that you could consider to already be a financial.
So this is where it gets confusing. So one of them is calling for, more regulation, instant regulation. They call it gatekeeper regulation. That's why I brought up this picture here. Basically, the explanation of what gatekeeping is. Then the response, though, appears to be they call it some of the tokens could already be considered financial products. So that's what they're going for. It appears, it appears that they're trying to, if they can deem something a financial product, then they will somehow regulate it. So whether or not it's, I guess, looking for someone to fine, because to me it doesn't sound like they're trying to help people. Because if they were trying to help people, they would be saying, things like not your keys, not your coins. I actually went on to the bottom of it and typed out replies, things like I actually cited Richard Hart saying centralized exchanges are known for stealing their customers' coins. Please don't get robbed by them. Remove your coins from exchanges whenever you can. Actually log in and remove your coins, And this is from someone who, maybe doesn't advocate, I can't speak on his behalf, but I would imagine individuals like this wouldn't advocate for shooting down, overacting, and downing hobbyist balloons, and, forcibly mandating vaccinations, which turns out that, your immune system does exactly what it's designed to do. Now, I then simplified it. I said, here's a simple bit of information that would better serve the public to protect them. If you keep your cryptocurrency in a personal wallet that only you control, you will never lose control of your assets. This is because you own the private keys that give you access to your cryptocurrency. However, if you give your cryptocurrency to a centralized exchange, you're giving up control of your assets and agreeing to their terms and conditions. Even with regulation, it is impossible to protect your assets if you do not take responsibility for the security. It is impossible to understand how to protect your assets and avoid third-party risks. Remember, not your keys, not your coins, meaning that if you do not own private keys to your wallet, you do not own the cryptocurrency in it. Now, I gave a more detailed explanation of that here. Basically the same thing with more not context, more complex, with a more complex explanation. Basically the same thing, pointing out, FTX founder, as an example, as a bad example, they were indicted for fraud, money laundering, and campaign finance offences by the DOJ. How they were regulated. How is more regulation going to solve this? Now, in closing, I'm starting to think this is the goal of the regulatory bodies. Alright,